This is hands down the most unique and suffocating zombie horror film of the last decade, bar none. It ditches the traditional siege tropes and gratuitous gore for a brutal realism that forces you to witness one person's infection destroy an entire city. What makes it even more hardcore is the single-take cinematography, stripping away every escape route and forcing you into a first-person nightmare as sanity unravels in real time. So today, we're diving headfirst into this chaotic, oppressive descent into madness with Mads. The nightmare begins on a perfectly ordinary evening, where Romain is speeding down an empty suburban road after taking way too much. Wind rushes through the car and Romain feels like he owns the world, until a lit cigarette slips from his fingers onto the leather seat. This car means everything to his dad, so if it gets burned, he's toast, forcing him to pull over and bend down to grab it. But in those few seconds, he looks away. A woman with bandaged head and tattered hospital gown silently appears at the hood. Her face is shattered with unspoken terror, and before Romain can say a word, she jumps in the passenger seat, frantically clawing at the keys while making garbled sounds. Her body shakes uncontrollably, every movement silently screaming two words: run, now. Romain panics and instinctively pulls out his phone to call the police. But mid-sentence it hits him that he's got illegal substances in his system, and getting cops involved would ruin his life forever. He hangs up immediately, takes a deep breath, and decides to drive this crazed woman to the nearest hospital instead. Little does he know, this seemingly rational choice is about to drag him and the entire city into an abyss of no return. Romain spends the drive trying to communicate with her. He asks who she is and what happened, but she just curls up sobbing without uttering a single word. Suddenly, a car behind them honks aggressively to pass, and when the high beams hit her eyes, she completely loses it, scrambling into the back seat while clutching her head in agony. She lets out an inhuman shriek that chills the air. Only after the other car passes and the lights fade does she calm down, crawling back to the front to pull out a recorder and press play. A cold clinical voice logs subject C39, female, age 20 to 25, infected via retroviral blood injection. For safety protocols, her teeth were extracted along with her tongue and salivary glands, which combined with her hospital gown and fugitive state paints a clear picture. The answer is staring him in the face. She's a live specimen escaped from some secret lab. But Romain's mind is too fogged to grasp what any of this actually means. He just wants to dump her at the hospital and get to his birthday party. To his absolute shock, the mere mention of a hospital sends her over the edge, and she starts violently bashing her own head. Then she grabs a sharp object from the glove box and without hesitation begins tearing into herself. Crimson sprays everywhere, hot and heavy, covering Romain's face and clothes in red stuff. His brain goes blank as the thick metallic smell fills the car, with a mystery woman slumped beside him while he sits there covered in red. If anyone saw this, he'd never be able to explain it, so he can't call cops or go to the hospital, leaving him no choice but to floor it and race home. Only when the garage door seals shut does he finally catch his breath. The dim, cold light reveals the lifeless body in the passenger seat, and panting heavily, Romain desperately hopes this is just a drug-induced hallucination. He stumbles to the mirror and sees a reflection that looks like it crawled out of a slaughterhouse. Frantically stripping off his clothes, he jumps in the shower to scrub away the crimson staining his skin. Unbeknownst to him, something has already slipped inside him along with the running water. Before he finishes washing, his phone rings. It's his father calling from a business trip. His dad casually mentions he'll be home tomorrow noon for lunch together. Romain fights to steady his trembling voice and manages a casual okay, like nothing's wrong. After hanging up, he heads back to the garage only to find something far more terrifying. The passenger seat is empty, and the woman's remains have vanished. His breathing turns ragged, but before he can process it, the doorbell rings. It's his girlfriend Anais. She walks in expecting their usual bedroom cuddles, but he's in no mood for that right now. He blocks her in the yard, claiming he feels sick and asking her to leave. Just then, headlights flash outside as friends swarm the porch to pick Romain up for the party. His head feels like it's splitting, so he keeps making excuses to push them away. The commotion wakes the neighbor who threatens to call the cops for noise and even tattled to Romain's dad. Terrified into compliance, Romain pulls up the security cameras to check things out. Seeing nothing unusual inside, he activates the automated security system just to be safe. If that woman is still in the house, the alarm will trigger the second she moves. On the way to the party, Anais notices Romain acting strange but assumes he's just mentally checked out and doesn't think much of it. As streetlights sweep across his face one by one, his neck twitches involuntarily with each flash. It's not nervousness. It looks like his body is being hijacked by something else entirely. Anais leans in for a kiss and he responds numbly, and the moment their lips touch, the virus quietly completes its first human-to-human transmission through saliva. The party is a blast of blinding lights and deafening music, with everyone losing themselves in the chaos. Romain stands at the center of attention but feels overwhelmed and irritated by the wall of noise. Everything feels unbearable to him right now. He grabs a monster mask and puts it on, instantly muffling the world into a dull haze. This detail is brilliant filmmaking, syncing our hearing with Romain's, so we feel his senses being swallowed piece by piece. He wanders dazed into the upstairs bathroom, staring at the stranger in the mirror, unable to snap out of it. A weird pulling sensation grips his neck as his body starts trembling beyond his control. The substances should have worn off by now, but instead of fading, the symptoms are getting worse. Meanwhile, he hears Anais and Julia talking through the wall. Anais accidentally finds a pregnancy test in Julia's bag, which makes zero sense since Julia hasn't dated anyone in over a year. Under relentless questioning, Julia admits the baby is Romain's. Anais freezes for a second before storming off in silent fury, while Romain hears every word through the thin wall. The second Anais leaves, he steps out, rips off the mask, and gets tangled up with Julia. Things heat up until Julia notices Romain's eyes glowing faintly in the dark. He rushes to the mirror in disbelief, staring intensely at his own pupils. Right then, his phone rings again. It's his father telling him the home security alarm just triggered. The camera feed shows signs of a break-in, and sensing disaster, Romain bolts downstairs, passing through the crowd as a nosebleed erupts without warning. But between the strobe lights and shifting shadows, nobody notices a thing. A friend approaches to chat, but like a puppet on strings, Romain shoves him down and mounts him in a frenzy of violence. By the time Julia realizes what's happening and pulls him off, the guy's face is wrecked beyond recognition, and Romain stands there horrified by a violent impulse he can't explain. He can't stay another second, so he grabs a random bike and pedals frantically toward home. He arrives to piercing alarms and enters the code with shaking hands to silence them. The house is trashed with the woman's clothes and that recorder scattered across the floor. He hits play without thinking. Following intermittent crimson trails on the floor, Romain reaches the bathroom to find the woman sitting in the tub, carving into herself. She digs deep into her flesh to extract a tiny blinking red device that looks like a tracker. Clutching it tight, she stumbles toward Romain while her free hand frantically gestures at the floor. She's trying to tell him something. Panic has erased his reason and he turns to flee, except it's already too late because an armed operative suddenly materializes in the doorway. Romain spins around and peers through the opposite window. He spots more operatives at the neighbor's house dragging out a lifeless body. Before he can process any of it, a noise erupts behind him. He turns back to see the woman mutating, limbs twisting at impossible angles like a broken spider as she crawls across the floor in a way no human ever could. Then the operatives breach the room and gunfire explodes in a deafening barrage. With no time for fear, Romain uses the chaos to slip out the back door and dives into the pitch-black cornfield behind the house. As he runs, hysterical laughter bubbles out of him completely against his will. Bursting out of the field onto the silent street, he starts biting his own arm and kicking parked cars to release the wild energy surging inside him. A black van glides up beside him and doors fly open as operatives jump out and shove him inside. Muffled shots ring out and Romain's chapter ends here, but the nightmare isn't over. It just found a new host. The van speeds through an intersection and nearly hits a woman glued to her phone, Romain's girlfriend Anais. She's been frantically texting him demanding why he attacked someone and why he was with Julia. Message after message goes unanswered into the void. Fuming with helpless rage, she hops in a taxi and sinks into the back seat. Under the passing lights, her neck starts twitching unconsciously in the exact same motion Romain had earlier. Julia calls in a panic saying she's terrified and something terrible happened. But Anais is consumed by betrayal and can't hear a word, cursing before hanging up abruptly. Then she notices a car behind them riding their bumper with high beams locked on. The driver frowns and steps out to confront them. In the next instant, Anais freezes in terror and instinctively scrambles into the driver's seat to speed away. But they don't get far. A tire pressure warning blares as bullets shred the rear tires, sending the car swerving to a halt on the roadside. She pushes the door open to keep running, but her body betrays her, and she collapses to the ground, convulsing violently. Within moments, the operatives close in, and when flashlight beams hit Anais, an unknown power floods her veins. She struggles upright and sprints forward as gunfire erupts behind her, rounds tearing into her body again and again, yet she refuses to fall. She doesn't even feel the pain. She dashes toward the tracks just as a train roars past, putting steel between her and her pursuers. Still running, she bursts into a bar and screams at the bartender for help because someone is hunting her. Everyone freezes, staring at this woman covered in red, torn between fear and helping her. Anais staggers into the restroom in a daze, unzipping her jacket to reveal her abdomen riddled with bullet holes leaking crimson. Yet she's still standing. She feels absolutely nothing. She breaks down screaming and crying with no idea what's happening to her or why. Familiar gunfire echoes from outside, and through the crack she sees operatives storming in to wipe out everyone in the bar indiscriminately. Clawing onto her last shred of sanity, she holds her breath and leaps out the window. The moment she lands, her neck jerks violently again and a twisted smile that isn't hers creeps across her face. Regaining clarity for just a few seconds, she quickly calls Julia to set a meeting spot, and on the way through an underpass, she tackles a stranger out of nowhere and beats them senselessly. Then she rises gracefully and walks away, stealing a man's bike by the park lake and tossing him into the water when he tries to stop her. Air raid sirens wail across the city skyline as helicopter blades chop the air and gunfire erupts from every direction. The virus has officially spiraled beyond containment. Julia soon spots Anais at the rendezvous point and, seeing her covered in red, gently helps her onto the motorcycle to rush her to the hospital. But she fails to notice that Anais's eyes have gone completely wrong. They haven't gone far when Anais frenziedly claws at Julia's hair with crimson-stained hands. At first, Julia thinks she's thrashing from pain and fear, soothing her to hold on a little longer. Then, Anais locks her arms around Julia's neck and sinks her teeth deep into the side of her throat, forcing Julia to scream and throw her off. Now she finally sees Anais's face clearly. The hollow stare and manic expression belong to someone she no longer recognizes. Ignoring the wound on her neck, she kicks the engine to life and speeds away. The final act of the film officially begins. Her phone rings mid-ride. It's her mother calling. Home alone in a wheelchair, her mom trembles as she explains something's wrong in the complex. Her chair is stuck, and her youngest daughter abandoned her. Julia comforts her while promising she's almost there. The motorcycle tears down empty streets when Anais's screams and roars suddenly pierce the darkness. Julia ignores it all and charges into the apartment building. She steps into the elevator hoping for a breather, and the doors barely seal in time before the car jolts to a halt. Pounding on the doors for help, she hears a sound from outside that makes her blood run cold. Screams echo continuously, growing fainter with each cry, followed by a brief silence. Then Julia hears her sister's voice and shouts desperately for her to pry the doors open, but instead of answering, her sister seems to be talking to someone else. A gunshot rings out and her sister's voice vanishes, giving Julia no time to grieve before an unfamiliar voice starts knocking on the elevator door. Asking if anyone's trapped inside, Julia clamps her hand over her mouth, terrified to make a sound, unsure if the person outside wants to save her or finish her off. After an eternity, the voice fades away. The elevator hums back to life, but when the doors slide open, the stairwell view nearly stops her heart. The corridor has transformed into a living hell soaked in crimson and littered with gnawed remains. Swallowing her terror, Julia inches step by agonizing step toward her apartment door. Finding it wide open, she rushes inside, calling out for her mother. Instead, she finds Anais hunched over her mother's remains, feasting in a final grotesque banquet. Shattered, Julia flees to the rooftop only to be blocked by an armed operative. Unlike the others, this one doesn't fire immediately but studies Julia closely, confirming she seems uninfected before telling her to wait while they hunt for Anais. But unbeknownst to them, Anais has already slipped in silently from some hidden corner, and before the operative can react, she sinks her teeth deep into their thigh. Breaking free, they raise their rifle and unload round after round into Anais until the magazine runs dry and she finally stops moving. But it's far too late now, and the operative slumps against the wall, peeling off their gas mask, revealing a young woman who looks at Julia and speaks with eerie calm.
On a l'ordre de tuer tous ceux qui ont été en contact direct. Alors reste en noir et utilise le moins de lumière possible. Ça leur donne de la force.
She hands her rifle to Julia and tells her to turn around and leave immediately. A shot echoes, but Julia doesn't run. Instead, she slides down by the window, cradling the gun as broken, uncontrollable laughter spills from her lips. The virus entered her bloodstream through Romaine's kiss and Anais's bite, and while she may be the last conscious soul in the city, her clarity is ticking away by the second. Outside the window, the entire city sinks into darkness and the orange glow of explosions. That's the full story of Mads, a teenager and an escaped test subject whose accidental collision on an ordinary night ignites an urban apocalypse. Unlike traditional zombie flicks, it skips heroism and moral debates to focus purely on how fragile and raw humanity becomes when disaster strikes. Its most unique and cruel trick is the single-take format that traps you in the same space and time as every character, denying you any cutaways or breathing room, forcing you to get lost on that night road with Romaine. It forces you to unravel inside bullet holes with Anais, and hold your breath in the dark alongside Julia. And you realize the true horror isn't the mutated bodies, but the crushing powerlessness of struggling against something you can never change or fix. Real apocalypse doesn't need scale or special effects. It only needs one night and one person.